Hey guys, it's Lion here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're going to be talking about Transformers Rise of the Beast, which is the newest Transformers movie that just came out last weekend, and it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. I had a lot of fun watching this. I went to watch it today, which was a Tuesday. It was a $5 ticket. I got some popcorn and an icy, which is my go-to snack every time I go to the movies. My sister went with me because she's staying with me this summer because she's doing an internship near where I live, and we went together. She was excited about the movie, I was excited about the movie, and we had a lot of fun with the movie. It was really enjoyable, and I really liked it. So overall, this is a return to form to the Michael Bay movies without it being Michael Bay, with a few different kind of changes, right? Because if you look at the 5 Michael Bay movies, and then you look at Bumblebee, they're very different. The Bumblebee movie is more like an E.T. type movie, or like the Iron Giant type movie. It's a movie about first contact and about connection and humanity and stuff like that, right? I'm not saying it's the best movie ever, but it does have more like elements of like higher level thought, right? Whereas the Michael Bay movies are all action. This movie, The Rise of the Beast, is a little bit of both, and it leans more towards the Michael Bay stuff, but the center of it, the story of the humans that are in this movie and the way that they interact with the Transformers is really good. I quite like it. I really enjoy it. Again, maybe Transformers movies don't need humans, but I like the way that they use the humans in this time, in this movie. So we have 3 characters. We have Noah, Chris, and Elena. Now, Noah is Chris's older brother. Chris is a little, like a 10-year-old kid, and he has sickle cell anemia, and it's affecting his hand, and he can't move it properly. And so his brother and his mom are trying to work as much as they can in order to try to get him some money, but they really aren't able to get the money necessary to pay for his treatments, right? And so this kid is just slowly, basically waiting to die, or whatever happens to people that have sickle cell leukemia over time, right? And his brother Noah is trying really hard to find a way to make money, and so he tries to go get jobs, and he can't. And mostly he does try to do security type jobs, because I guess that's what GIs do when they come back from the war and they don't go into, other fields. So he's trying to do that, but it doesn't ever work. He doesn't get the jobs that he needs. He can't catch a break. And then one day he's like, okay, I need to pay for my brother's, treatments. I can't get a job. I'm going to turn to crime. And when he tries to do that, he ends up bumping into Mirage, who is the main Autobot character for this movie. And even though I like Bumblebee better, and I think Bumblebee is still the heart of the Transformers live action show, stuff, I think that it was a really good choice to make Mirage the main character, the main Autobot character, because it's nice to have someone different. It's nice that he has a very big personality, and it's nice that he talks. And so Noah ends up interacting with Mirage. He's trying to steal Mirage in car form, and it doesn't work. Eventually, he gets inside Mirage, and he has to go driving with Mirage, and Mirage actually gets a call from Optimus Prime, and so Mirage is going towards Optimus, and it turns into a car chase. The New York police are chasing Mirage down in order to try to get Noah, but eventually Mirage and Noah manage to ditch them, and so they end up with Optimus Prime, and Optimus Prime is actually angry and young Optimus Prime, I would say, or like at least younger than the original Michael Bay Optimus Prime, because Optimus Prime has always been this kind of noble leader type character, even though you might think that it doesn't make sense for Optimus to be this kind of like very noble type of person, and then turn around and basically eradicate a race of Transformer people, which are the Decepticons. But I think that's just kind of par for the situation that they're in. And eventually in the Michael Bay movies, he kind of ends up becoming crazy. But in this one, we get to see more of the early days of Optimus Prime. He's quite young, or he feels young, and he feels like he's angry, and that he's not really dealing with the position he's in all that well. And even Optimus Primal says that, where Optimus Primal is much more of the old, kind of more well thought out leader in this movie. And this is good. It actually kind of reminds me of the War for Cybertron animation that they have on Netflix, because when the Maximals and Autobots meet in that series, the relationship between them is more or less similar, and I like it. I think it's an interesting thing to look at, and it's interesting because, you know, in the Michael Bay movies, Optimus was all about protecting the humans, right? In this one, he doesn't like humans, and so there's a big conflict with Noah that eventually gets resolved by the end of the movie in a really awesome scene. And then, you know, they realize that the warp key, the warp portal key, the warp door key, whatever the thing is called, the MacGuffin, is activated because Elena, the other human character, was working at a museum, and she accidentally makes the warp key activate, and so it sends up this beacon into the sky. And so the Autobots have to go get it, but they can't fit in the museum, so they ask Noah to do it for them. And then they get there, Noah and Elena meet. Noah and Elena have like a back and forth, and eventually have to work together because Scourge, Battletrap, and Nightbird, I think is their name, show up and start wrecking shit. And so we get a big action scene. And it's actually the second or third action scene or action set piece that we get in the movie, because the movie actually starts with the Maximals on this Maximal planet, I guess, that gets attacked by Scourge, gets eaten by Unicron, and then they get sent off and eventually land on Earth, right? And so that's the first action scene. The second set piece is the Mirage chase around New York, which is really, really good. I actually really like that scene a lot. It works really, really well. And then the third set piece is the battle between the initial battle between Scourge and Optimus Prime. And actually, Bumblebee dies in this part of the movie, but you know, he comes back because Bumblebee is the heart and soul of Transformers, at least in the modern era, and so it makes sense that he is gonna come back even if he dies. But for like most of the movie, you're like, fuck, my man died, what the fuck is going on? But I mean, you know, he comes back eventually. It's in the trailers, so yeah. And then they're like, okay, we lost this part, but then Airazor shows up, and she's like, well, there's a second part, so now we have to go to Peru. And they go to Peru, and they do the whole thing, and they find the MacGuffin, and then the MacGuffin gets stolen by Scourge, and then we have the big fight scene at the end, and it's awesome. I really like this movie a lot. There's a really interesting scene that I think for children, it's going to be badass as fuck, but for older people, you know, teenagers, and people that live through the age of Marvel and the MCU getting big, will possibly find the scene that I'm talking about, which I'm not really gonna spoil, to be kind of corny, but also cool, but also like, man, that's, you know, I've seen that before a lot, in a lot of different, you know, things, right? So if you guys know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And if not, well, sorry, I guess. But yeah, I think that scene was cool. And I really like the ending set piece where, you know, Optimus Prime defeats the villain. And I actually like that he actually manages to beat the villain because, you know, Optimus Prime and Megatron have this kind of like Batman and Joker type vibe where neither can live while the other survives, or neither can die while the other lives, but also neither can live while the other is dead. Like they have this symbiotic, like we both have to exist, otherwise there's no meaning to our lives kind of connection. But you know, Scourge is not Megatron, so he can die. And again, I don't feel like this is a spoiler because obviously he was gonna die. Because anytime there's a villain that's not mainline Megatron or a major, you know, Decepticon, they're gonna die. It's just how it goes, right? So Yeah, very good ending. And then we get this moment where we get the ending, we get the Optimus Prime speech that we always get, which I love. There's no Linkin Park this time, which kind of sucks, but also, I think we get some rap song at the end. And then we get this situation where Noah finally gets a job, gets recruited by the government, and the whole time I'm very excited. I'm like, damn, this is Sector 7. This is going to be cool. They might not tie into the Michael Bay movies. I don't really care if it does or not. It doesn't matter to me. But Sector 7 was a thing in Bumblebee, which was referenced in this movie, so that's canon to this movie. And also Sector 7 would be cool because this would be the first time that our main character actually is a member of Sector 7, instead of Sector 7 being the secondary antagonist or secondary, helpful member of the team. In a movie, it'd be really cool to follow Noah as he was a Sector 7 agent who happens to have a Transformer partner, right? That would be really cool. But no, they actually flip the script and they actually tell him, hey, you want to be part of the G.I. Joe program? And I was like, what the fuck? Why? Okay, technically, if you turn Sector 7 into the G.I. Joe program, you could make it work. And if you tone down some of the G.I. Joe stuff, it could work. You could make it work. But I really don't see, like, Optimus Prime fighting Cobra Commander. So I really hope that they don't really go through with this. But honestly, I feel like they have to at this point because it is not a post-credit scene. It is not something that people might have not seen. It is literally still part of the movie. It is the last part of the movie before the end of the movie, right? So before the credits. I think it has to happen. And I think it would be really cool for one situation, one movie, and then move on and never address it again. Because, there is precedent for it. I think there's a comic book about it. And it would be pretty fun. Like, I'm not saying it wouldn't be enjoyable, because it kind of would be. But I just don't feel like it should be a thing. Like, there should not be a Hasbro universe. There should only be Transformers and then G.I. Joe separately, right? And the G.I. Joe movies could work. There's 1,000 different Bourne, Bond, Tom Cruise movies that are all kind of like that. You sprinkle in a little bit of superpower type stuff like Civil War, and you can get a cool G.I. Joe movie. I just think that the 3 G.I. Joe movies that they did were badly made, and so they didn't work. But they could work. I think they would do pretty well because it'd be really enjoyable, because it would kind of be a little bit like Fast and Furious. It would be a little bit like the MCU or DC, but it'd be its own separate thing, and I think that would work. I just don't think it would work with Transformers, so I really don't like that aspect. But I think it could work once. One movie and we're done, and maybe we'd leave it at that. But I really hope they don't do it. I hope they try to retcon that away in the next movie, because I really enjoyed this. I actually would really like to see Noah stay on as the main male character for the Transformers, and Elena can stay too. I think at the end of the movie, they kind of had this moment where it was basically a romance, or at least a very close friendship. So I would like to see, that situation happen and continue, and then have like a trilogy of movies, or, a saga of movies, 6 movies or something, where you have Noah and Elena and maybe their kid eventually, and they have this adventure with the Transformers for a few different movies, and then, eventually they finish off and, we move on to something else. But overall, this movie was great. I would give it a 4.5 out of 5, which is like a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I didn't think that the voice actors were distracting, because if you didn't know, most of the voice actors are actually just, famous, like YouTube stars and like Viners and stuff like that. And so you would think that they'd be distracting, but I think I just don't know enough of them to really care. The chick that does RC's voice did a good job. I really like RC's design. My sister said that it was like sexualized, and then I talked to her about it, and she was like, there's no reason why she had to be thick, and I guess that's correct, but also this is made for 13-year-old kids, so they have to have a way to have a sexy character in there, and RC is the best choice that they had, because they wanted to have like a serious female character. At least that's what it seems like, compared to Michael Bay movies where the female character is just there for eye candy. So I think that works. There was actually 3 female Transformers in this, which is awesome. There's very rarely ever any female Transformers in the movies. So there was Air Razor, who was Michelle Yeoh. There was RC. I don't remember the actress's name. And then there was Nightbird. I think that's what her name is. And she was basically a non-entity, but she was there, and she, died, but she was a female character, so that was cool. And Elena, of course, and I really liked Elena. She actually reminds me a little bit of the character that is the main character in the, what's it called? The National Treasure TV show. I didn't like that show. I think the representation of Hispanic people in that show is bad. It's mostly like what white people would think a Hispanic person would go through, not actually what Hispanic people go through. But the way that character kind of has this passion for ancient things and this drive is very similar to Elena. And I actually think Elena is a very well executed character. I like her a lot. I like Noah a lot. I like Noah's relationship with his brother Chris and with Mirage, and I really like how all of these characters worked. The only character I didn't care for, but I also didn't hate, was Wheeljack, Pablo. I like that he had a Hispanic accent. I didn't like that he didn't really speak Spanish, and they even made a joke about it, but it worked out. It was funny. I laughed. I thought this movie was really, really funny. I had a lot of fun with this, and mostly it was because Mirage and Noah had a really fun chemistry, and Mirage made a lot of good jokes and made a lot of good comedic situations happen. So overall, this movie was a success. I really, really enjoyed it. Like I said, a 9 out of 10. Would definitely watch this again. Definitely gonna buy this as soon as I can. And yeah, so there you go. That's my somewhat spoiler, somewhat not spoiler kind of review. And thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.